So a lot of you were doing the previous session all about blowing up the house. I was about to say blowing up the king, but I was like, that sounds a bit wrong. But yeah, blowing up the house. And yes, hopefully you enjoyed that session. So that was all about like dealing with a king that's already been castled and how to best attack him. Now we're looking at how to deal with the king when he's stuck in the middle of the board, hence the name, caught in the middle. And we're going to look for ways where we can best make use of that and yeah, try and attack. So let me share my screen and we'll get cracking. Okay, so let me need to adjust it slightly so you can see the coordinates. Okay, so everything should be good to go. Put all the video things up here so I can see you all. All right, excellent. So the first example I wanted to use was this position that comes from the Blackburn Shilling Gambit. So for those of you who don't know the Blackburn Shilling Gambit, it's basically when Black plays this knight d4 move against the Italian, which is basically just a trap opening. So as long as you don't fall for the trap and take the pawn on e5, then, you know, just like do something like castles, then white will get a good position like this. Now, when you get a good position where you're ahead in development, it's very important to use this kind of momentum, right? It's leading development. Because if you don't and you start playing something that's quite slow, what happens is you allow your opponent to catch up, because a leading development is only a temporary thing. So let's say, for example, white just plays a move like knight c3, black goes bishop e7, pawn d3, castles. All of a sudden, black is catching up, and we're starting to lose our main advantage, right? So we need to be a little bit more precise and we need to be fast, okay? So white to play in this position. I'll give you guys a minute to think about it. And then you can just put in the chat, make sure it's like, you know, private to either me or Sarah, and see what you guys come up with. So white to play, what do you think would be the best move here? I have my fancy timer here just to, you know, make you guys under pressure.
Pressure. Yeah. You only get
look at a game situation.
Hopefully I'd have a bit more than 1 minute on my clock in a game.
Well, you haven't played enough bullet then, Sarah.
Oh, I don't play that.
William plays a bit of ultra bullet, which is that's why he's got the answer so fast. He knows. Speedy Gonzalez over there. Ooh, I like Katie's move as well, actually.
Yeah.
It wasn't a move I was thinking of, but actually I quite like it.
Yeah, how does black defend after that move?
Okay, well, Daniel, you're going d5. Are you turning into a kangaroo or something and jumping over there? What's going on? What's going to d5? Is the bishop going to d5? Maybe he meant d4. All right, so we've got a few different suggestions. Yeah, I meant d4. Okay, so we've got queen b3. It was one of them, and d4. So basically, these are two main ones. Oh, actually, we had one more, b3 to go bishop b2 and try to take the pawn. Okay, interesting idea. So really, whenever you're like ahead in development, and you can see this quite clearly, right? We've got 1, 2, 3 things developed compared to the 1. And what we want to count is pieces developed, and castling is also something we should factor into that equation. It's important to note that we do not factor in the pawns. The pawns are only something that should be seen as in something that aid development, right? Because if the pawn didn't exist, let's say it was back on e6 or e7, then we could simply move our pawn forward and then the pieces would get harassed. So that's why the pawns are just there to kind of help the pieces to develop in the first place. So we've basically got 3-on-1 situation. Now, if we don't use that, then black's going to catch up and that ratio will decrease, become more equal. So we need to look for a way to kind of open the position, right? Very important. Our king is safe and secure. Their king is in the middle of the board. So that's what we should be trying to do. And the best way to open up the position is to look for pawn breaks. Like have some pawn tension, have these guys have a little fight in the middle of the board and try to see if we could open up some files as a result. So d4 is the move I was actually looking for. But this queen b3 alternative I actually quite like as well, because what this does is you attack the pawn nice and early, And that means that black would like to be able to castle here to try and defend the pawn with the rook. But of course, that's not possible. And so you'd have to resort to play a move like queen e7, which again slows down his own development, right? Now the bishop's going to find it hard to get out, and which in turn slows down their development. So it's kind of a similar theme to what we want to do in the example like I was giving. Okay, so that I think both d4 and queen b3 are good moves. b3 I think is a little bit too slow, unfortunately, because black can just continue developing. And after bishop b2, he can just deal with that threat quite easily. d6, then he castles, and he pretty much solves most of his problems. So d4 is what I wanted. And the main problem, of course, here for black is if he now decides to take. So there's someone in the waiting room. Do you want to let them in?
Florian, yeah, Fleming, sorry, yeah.
We can go e5, of course, and now the knight is in big trouble, and queen f7 checkmate is looming. So let's assume that black's going to not take instead and go pawn to d6. Okay, we should be happy to open up the position, right? Because that's the whole point. We want to do that. And now I really like Katie's move of going queen b3. This is an important move to make because I think a lot of you would just go rook d1 without thinking. You think, oh, it's a nice move. We're gaining a tempo on the queen. The issue with this move is black would simply go bishop d6, and now he's ready to castle. But he also has a threat bishop g4 as well. And so all of a sudden, it's like, we don't really have anything fast enough, and so black will castle, and he solves all of his problems. So it's very important to always be accurate. So that's why I like queen b3 more here, just to try and provoke something like queen e7. And because we've now slowed down black's development, we can continue getting pieces into the game like this. And that means black's going to be in quite a lot of trouble. In fact, this game looks very similar to what we're about to see in the next chapter, the famous Paul Morphy Opera House game. Okay, so let's remember this position because this one is basically very similar to that. This one actually came from the Philidor defense, and your opponent has just played the move pawn to b5. So a lot of you might have seen this example. If you have, that's fine. It's just a good illustrative example of how to attack an uncastled king. So white to play. What do you think would be the best move here?
Maybe you've seen this game before. It's a very famous game.
Yeah, so you can remember the answer.
Christos, that's great. Yeah, we were learning about Morphy. Excellent. I don't think I showed this game in the class, not this term anyway. But you may have seen it before. Extremely famous.
You got one answer so far. I thought they'll be like just flooding in. All right, Daniel wants to castle. You're not concerned about your bishop's life, Mr. Daniel? Poor bishop.
You don't want these hanging pieces. Try and give us some detail.
All right, so we've got Florian, Katie, Ian. We're all on the right track. So for those of you that weren't in my earlier session, I stressed a lot the emphasis to always look for checks and captures when in a position of when we're looking at dynamics. And so, okay, first of all, we don't really have any good checks because bishop takes f7 is simply just hanging a piece. And so we should then move on to the next criteria, right? So instead of no checks, we then look at the captures. We're looking at a way to capture on b5. So the question is, well, which piece should we take with? Now, usually what you want to do, generally as a rule, you want to take with the shorter range piece, just because the shorter range piece doesn't do as much, like it's harder to get into the game, it's further back. And so therefore that tells you should take with the knight. And also think about which piece would you want there when everything gets exchanged. So if you take first a bishop, pawn takes, then knight takes, all of a sudden you don't really have a good like follow-up. Knight's not really threatening to do anything. Whereas you take with the knight first, and you have the bishop there last, it comes with a check. And so that looks a lot more menacing, right? All right, Christoph, he has a question.
Go on then, Christos.
If you go back, if the bishop took, if
Yep.
bishop takes, and then the knight takes pawn, if the knight takes pawn, could you just play queen b4?
That's right. I predicted what you're going to say. Exactly.
And
So
then,
queen
and,
b4.
then you take the queen.
Queen b4, we swap the queens off.
But then you can take, oh yeah, you can't take the rook because you're in check.
Exactly. And after c3,
You
bishop
can't
a5.
do that. You can't do that 5 level.
Yeah.
Yeah, bishop
So
A7.
black manages to liquidate a lot of pieces, in which case our sacrifice would be in vain, right? So it's important always to look out for these possibilities, which is why it's always a good idea to try do everything with an enforcing sequence, because you give your opponent essentially less options to defend themselves. So that's why we should take with the knight. Pawn takes, bishop takes with check. So that means black doesn't have a chance to give this queen b4. Knight to d7. And now it's all about just getting pieces into the game. So we want to try and make sure we use all of our pieces to make sure our attack is successful. So what do you think white should do here?
Yeah, whole total of a minute. Well done, William. Well done, Katie. Well done, Christos. Although you need to be a bit more specific, Christos.
You just said castling. I can castle both sides.
Well done, Daniel.
Yeah, you've all got it. So I think we'll just give you a few more seconds. All right. Boom. So yeah, most of you have said, all of you said gave an answer, or said to go castle queenside, which is great because this is the one which is providing a threat, right? Your rook is nice and active, whereas you castle kingside, your rook would be on f1, which is a little bit more passive, right? So it's very important when you have this kind of, you're sacrificing, you're trying to get to the king, you have this momentum, you keep that momentum going. So you've got to keep making threats. If you don't make threats, you give your opponent some time to breathe and to kind of find a way to defend, basically. So rook to d8, and here white now goes rook takes d7. So it basically wants to get his last piece into the game. The rook on h1 was doing nothing, so he gives up this rook in order to vacate the d1 square, right? It's all about putting pressure on the pinned piece. So this is the pinned piece, and we're putting pressure there. Queen goes to e6, bishop takes d7 check, knight takes d7, and now we have the very famous finish. So hopefully you've all seen this before. White to play and win. How do we, can you guys see a checkmate in 2 moves? Christos has got it. Daniel's got it. All right, you'll sure get it. Ian's got it as well. Good stuff.
It'd be so nice to win this way.
Florian has gone queen b4. Ooh, thank you, Florian.
Oh dear.
Oh, no, he's changed his mind. Wants to
Maybe
go
it was a
queen b8 instead. Mouse slip.
Yeah, well done, Katie.
He's got, yep, great. So queen b8 was the, nice continuation. Basically, more if you realize that if you can get the knight out of the way, then rook d8 would be a checkmate. So you just deflect the knight out of the way, and then rook d8 was a pretty nice mate. So this is a good example to get us started with, because it's showing exactly how a king in the middle of the board can easily be checkmated with precise play. Right, so very, very important to get castle nice and early. Okay, so we've got a few more examples of this momentum. So it's important when you have this momentum, you've got to constantly make threats. So keep that in mind for these next few examples. So next one is the position from the Mora Gambit, which I quite like. So here, basically, white is down a pawn, but what he got was a lead in development. Right, he's got a lot of pieces developed compared to black, and so he has some compensation in that form. But remember that when you're down material, you need to make things happen quickly, right? If you don't, then black will be able to stabilize in order to be a pawn up for nothing, basically. So white to play, how can we continue the attack? How can we want to try get to the king on e8. So have a think about it. Remember, we can open up files and things. That should be very beneficial to us, since we're the one that has a rook ready to enter the game. Blimey. Christos is sacrificing the bishop. On e6. Whew, that's brave.
Would you do that in a game? Because it's all right to say that in training, but would you play that move in a game confidently?
Yeah. Remember the rule I gave you from earlier, right? You should only sacrifice if you have a clear and adequate reason to do so. If you don't, then probably you should be sacrificing. Because it could very easily backfire. All right, Katie's got it. Fantastic stuff. Daniel wants to go bishop f4. Yeah, pretty sensible move, just developing another piece. But yeah, actually, the main move I was looking for here, guys, was knight d5. And the whole point of this is if they take, you take back, you open up this e file for the rook. And if you can remember what I said, if you could open up files when your king is castled and that king's still stuck in the middle, it means the king would be, in a lot of danger. All right, let's go back to Christos, reporting from his bedroom. Sky News.
Okay, yeah.
What's the latest, Christos?
If you put your knight there and they take, wouldn't you take from the queen threatening mate on f7?
I see.
I usually do that in my games.
So Christos wants to go directly for checkmates. He doesn't want to get the rook in the game. He wants to checkmate the opponent. What? But okay, queen e7. I just defend the checkmate and then I go knight f6 with tempo and maybe.
Beat up and we're happy.
Yeah, but then you play bishop g5.
All right, bishop g5.
Nice.
I just stay calm.
And then can't you make them double their pawns on the f file?
Yeah, but we're piece up.
I'm going to take my queen actually. I'm not going to double my pawns.
Yeah, but then you can play rook to d1.
Rook to d1. Blimey, the attack keeps coming. All right, and if I go rook d8.
Well, you're going to be brave and castle queenside there, Brandon.
Maybe.
Then you can just double the rooks. Try doubling the rook.
Okay, but I'm going to just...
That's the whole piece up. That's the problem. So you need to open that e-file.
So it's not maybe a bad idea, but it's just not as good as the other idea. Now, actually, there's a little finesse I wanted to make. So knight d5, of course, is kind of the right theme. But what I wanted to do is just kind of insert this a4 move just to make it a little bit better and make use of this hook on b5. Just to kind of insert these two moves, a4 and b4, and then go knight d5. I thought it was a bit of a nicer move order of going about this. So here, black has a choice. I mean, the best move is actually to go knight a5 and just to ignore the knight. Because if he starts trying to get too greedy and he takes, we should take with the e-pawn, threatening to go rook to e1, but also knight's hanging. If they go knight to e7, then we can go d6. And after knight g6, we go rook to e1, and all of a sudden the king's in big trouble. He has to already block with a piece, meaning we can get our piece back straight away. But of course, we've got a big investment. So we managed to profit from that investment there. So going back, knight a5 should be, or black should play this one instead. And here's quite a funny variation where I go bishop g5. So again, we keep that momentum going, developing with threats, f6. And here we have this crazy idea to go, well, the funny thing is like most of your pieces are on pre, right? Bishop, knight, and bishop. So I kind of thought, well, if we've got 3 pieces on pre, then we might as well just add another one to it as well. So there you go, we have 4 pieces on pre instead. Knight e5. What a move. It's not every day you see positions like this where like all the pieces are just literally hanging. Yeah, but actually it's very difficult for black to make a move here because queen h5 check is coming. He can't take the knight because it's in a pin. Bishop's not hanging. Yeah, technically the bishop's not like really hanging per se, but it could be hanging when the queen starts to move. So it's kind of a little bit loose. And the problem here is when black tries to defend against queen h5 with g6, then all of a sudden we have knight takes f6 check, knight takes f6, bishop f6, queen f6, and we have a checkmate on d7. So that's a pretty cool variation that can happen. All right, we'll go back to Christos. What's the crisis this time?
What if you took the other knight?
So,
Back here, what if you took the other knight?
What, with the pawn?
Yeah.
Well, you're very brave, aren't you? If I give you a check?
Oh, yeah.
Does that not scare you? Scare me.
But what instead of that, if you played knight h6?
Back here, knight h6.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nice on the room of dim.
All right. You ready? Christos, do you like fireworks?
Yeah.
Me too. I love fireworks.
Oh, wow.
Say goodbye to Freddie.
Oh.
Wish him well. Bye, Freddie. Give him a wave. And after pawn takes, queen h5 check.
Yeah. You use that.
Yeah, so that's the problem. Like if I've got so many pieces in the attack, there's always going to be a tactic, yes, somewhere. He's got to just spend some time trying to find it, and it's just there, it's waiting. So, okay, so that was a nice example taken from the Morrow Gambit. Next one is from the Evans Gambit. And again, we have a situation where white is down some material, but again, he has this leading development, and the king is still, at the moment, caught in the middle. And so it's very important we keep that momentum going. We keep making threats, we open files in order to prevent black from having any time to castle his king. So we've got to keep making threats. So white to play, what do you guys think we should do here? If black manages the castle, maybe we'll just a pawn down for no reason. Technically, we're down 2 pawns at the moment, so could be extra careful. All right, Christos wants knight g5, but remember, knight g5, can't I just castle maybe? You're helping me to castle. All right, think carefully, we want to make threats. Okay, we've got some e5s, we've got some knight d5s. Okay, still have some time, so think carefully. Okay, so it looks like, yeah, Daniel also changed his answer as well. So pretty much everyone's gone for knight d5 then, and that is the correct move. We're just, yeah, making a threat. My thing disappeared. Right. Knight to d5, making a threat, and therefore black is of course not yet in time to castle, so pretty much has to take. Hopefully you guys were planning to follow up with taking with a pawn, so you open up the e file for your rook, and you also keep the threats coming, right? You're attacking the knight, which again means black's not yet in time to castle. Knight e5, we take that knight, bring the queen a little bit further out, making it more susceptible to some like attacks. So bishop b2, developing with tempo, attacking the queen and the pawn behind him. So queen to g5, and now another critical moment in the game. I think a lot of you would just go rook e1 check, but you gotta be careful. There's a bishop here, right, ready to take you. So black is 1 move from castling. If he castles, maybe we're in trouble. So make sure he cannot castle. White to play. What should we do?
Try and give us a few moves, because there's a bit more to this than just finding a move that stops him from castling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, William, just give a bit more detail, please. And Christos just wants to give up a rook. Is that going to exchange?
Poor rooks. Supposed to be kind to your pieces, Christos. They're going to win you the game. But if you sacrifice them all, they might not. All right. Ian's on the right track. Okay, so I think there's probably 2 good moves here. Okay, Daniel wants to go h4. Interesting. So actually, that's not a bad suggestion, Daniel. It's something we're going to do actually at a later stage. So Daniel's idea is after h4, queen takes h4. He wants to go bishop takes g7, in which case he also prevents black from castling. So I guess you can get some credit for that. But my ideas are mostly based on either queen to a3 or bishop a3 to prevent the king castling this way instead. So I think both moves are completely fine, because if you go bishop a3 after d6, you have this queen b5 or a4 check winning the bishop. I kind of have a slight preference to go queen a3, to be honest, just because the queen has kind of done her job on b3 and she's become a little bit redundant, whereas the bishop is still putting pressure on g7. And so it's always good to make sure you maximize all of your pieces. So if you go queen to a3, you prevent black from castling, and you also attacking this bishop straight away, which means that the bishop now moves. You can simply bring your rook over to e1, right? All right, so yeah, rook comes to e1. Now, a lot of you might be thinking why to bring this rook, because usually you're taught to put f rook on e and the other one on d, so they're both like in the center. Now that is kind of like the traditional view, but remember that to be a good chess player, you always have to edit your move orders and things, your setups based on what your opponent is doing. And because black has some pressure on the f2 pawn, you don't really want to move this guy away, because then it could be potential weakness. And this guy doesn't need to come to d file anyway, because there's just a pawn here. There's nothing for him to do on the d file. So he can actually come to the e file. That means we've got good control over the position, and black has to go king to d8. So step one is basically being completed, right? We unshopen the position, and we prevented black from castling permanently, right? Now it's important not to let your foot off the gas, because if you do, black's going to go d6. He's going to go bishop to d7. He's going to start trying to consolidate, in which case maybe he can survive. So we need to keep making some threats. And so now I think Daniel's move is a good one, where we go pawn to h4, right? We deflect the queen for the defense of g7, but also remember the queen is defending e7 as well, right? So the queen moves away, then queen to e7 would be a checkmate. So pretty much forces queen takes h4. We can now take on g7, which was Daniel's idea, attacking the rook, and now black is in a lot of trouble. If he goes rook to e8, rook takes, and queen f8 is just forced mate, so you can't really do that. And if it goes rook to g8, well, now we have the final question, I guess. White to play and win. So you guys can solve this one.
Ooh, the timer's on. Pressure.
Sarah's changed her name. She's now become Queen Sarah Longson. She's gone for 4 queens.
Yeah, thanks to Christos's help.
Yeah, so she's feeling very valuable. I'm still Brandon.
You could be a king, maybe.
I should add some kings, but kings aren't as powerful as queens, apparently. So.
No, Queen's best piece.
I know. Christos has a question already.
Okay, let's just wait until we've...
Supposed to be answering.
Yeah.
Put in the chat, Christos.
Yeah, just write it in the chat. She did write about doubling the rooks. Okay, so white to play. Now let's hope no one falls for any problems in our position here.
That's actually why I played h4 first, rather than going bishop takes g7 first. Because I was actually worried, like if you go bishop g7 first and deflect the queen once on g5, after rook g8, then there might be something might blunder mate in one.
Yeah.
Change the move orders to make sure there's no mate problems.
Oh, very kind of you.
I know. Sometimes I have my moments. All right, so we got an answer. No one's got an answer. What? Oh, we did get some answers. We've got d6 and g3 and bishop f8. And...
I've got 1 d6.
No one's found the right solution.
Give them more time. 2 minutes now.
All right, we're going to have to give them more time.
1 minute.
Over.
You're so generous.
Queen e7 check. Remember, the queen's defending that square, so you can't do that just yet. Rook e8, Christos. Is that not a free rook? I will take it.
Yeah, don't give away your pieces. To be kind
bishop
to your
f8. Problem bishop f8, guys, is I can just go d6, yeah, and then I just stop all your threats. So you gotta look for something more forcing. Queen f3. Queen f3 can't just take your bishop. Ah, I see. So William wants to go bishop f8 and then bishop e7. Okay. Interesting. So maybe I have to chicken out and take a draw then.
Nah. We don't draw games, we win games.
Well, no, if I'm playing black, yeah, I'm happy with the draw because I'm getting smashed. Christoph wants to go bishop b5 3 times. Still no one has found the right answer though.
Come on.
What's going on?
I'm going to give you a clue. We're trying to deflect that queen from h4. So how are we going to do that? Well, look at all your pieces and we don't give away your bishop on the way. So you need to find a way of deflecting that queen that doesn't give away your bishop. And look at my name. I've got 4 queens there. Queens are important in chess. So that might be the piece.
Maybe. Who knows?
Oh, I know.
All right, who's going to be the first one to get it?
Giving you a big hint.
Still, no one's got it yet.
It doesn't matter if we lose our queen as long as we can get our bishop to f6 to deliver checkmate.
We have a queen f3, but queen f3 doesn't allow us to g7. That doesn't work. Daniel wants something on g6. Katie, we have a winner.
Yay!
Fantastic. All right, finally.
Girl power.
Yeah. So you girls know how to use their queens, I guess. So queen to g3, fantastic. So this move is better than just going pawn to g3 because pawn g3, the queen can go back to g5 and then it's not forced to be deflected away. So that's why queen g3 is a better move. So William, your move bishop f8 is actually an interesting one because if I go d6, you have this bishop b7, which is a little bit annoying. But then I was wondering if maybe I don't have a draw. If I give a check, take, check, you can move a queen g3 actually. Bother, that's annoying.
Still allowing them some counterplay though, aren't you?
So maybe I have to just sack my queen then. Maybe I have to just go d6, you give a check, I take, you take. What's the damage here? So at least I've got quite a bit of material though for sacrificing my queen.
King's still a bit weak, but
yeah, still a bit weak. So maybe it's still also a good option for white as well. So yeah, maybe this is not bad decision. But I kind of feel like, once you see queen g3, it's just much stronger, right? You just finish the game straight away because, if queen takes and just mate in 1, and if the queen doesn't take, then, well, queen's going to hang, or you got bishop f6 check with queen takes g8 coming. So this is just, far stronger, I think, which is much, much faster. Okay, so queen g3 and black is completely busted. All right, so that's all about, so the first kind of theme we went through is all about initiative, right? So it's very important when you have this lead development, you should be looking for ways to open a position, make use of initiative because the lead development is only a temporary advantage. Christos, should be a journalist. Back to you.
Okay, go on then.
What if earlier before this position he played rook e8? Like
rook e8?
If you go really back, when black could have played.
Here?
No, before he played that, couldn't he have played rook e8?
Because queen, we constantly made threats, right? So the goes always under attack.
Oh yeah.
Like every move was a threat. So we actually
forcing moves.
I thought there was nothing there.
We didn't give black a chance, which is why the sequence was so good. Okay, so let's move on to another attacking principle, and it's all about this this hook, right? So here we have a bit of a strange position that I've taken from the bird's opening. The bird's opening is where they go, f4, and here white's made a bit of a strange series of moves, f4 and g3, and so already he's created a hook 2 moves into the game, and we can technically punish him for doing so. So what's the best move here for black? Look, remember, we're looking for an attacking move, so not just developing. We're looking for something to try and exploit a hook. So if you don't know what a hook is, it's when you can use pawns to attack each other and then to try and open up a file. All right, William's got it. Yep.
Excellent.
G5 and E5 also being suggested, but they're not quite what we're looking for. Let's have another go. Okay, so Katie's got it as well. Fantastic. So the move we're after is pawn to H5. Now, usually it's not kind of a good thing to attack so prematurely like this. Usually you need all your pieces developed, but here, because white has made a kind of a premature move himself, it gives us the license to kind of get away with such a move. And we're just simply going to go h4, latch on to Gary here, and then we're trying to rip open the h file for our rook. It's already too late for white to defend, because if he goes knight f3, we have this cool variation, we'll go h4 anyway. And if the knight takes, we can actually sacrifice the rook. Now if the pawn takes, pawn to e5, and all of a sudden we've got some like kind of fool's mate vibes coming, and white's in big trouble here. So it just goes to show why you should probably not play the bird's opening in the first place, and move the f pawn. Exactly. Good advice, William. Never play f4. Okay, so now that you guys know kind of what a hook looks like, see if you can then use that in a more like more sensible looking position. So this is taken from the Nimzo Indian. White to play. What should we do here? Let's get my timer back on. Yep, so no King's Gambit. So remember that black is one move from castling, yeah? So you got to be fast. You play moves like Queen G5, maybe you're just allowing them to castle anyway. So, to be accurate here. D5 is a popular suggestion, but still black can just castle, yeah? Take on C5. Whoa, yuck. Pawn structure, Christos. Ugh. You have double isolated pawns if you take on C5. That's horrible. I hate double pawns. And no one's got the answer. Interesting. We got a tough one.
Bit more time then, please, Brandon.
Oh.
2 minutes, maybe.
Well, they already had 1 minute, so this is technically the second minute. All right, remember, we're looking for a hook. Where's the hook? All right, pretend you're out fishing or something. I don't know how to fish. H4. Christos, that's not a hook. Because if you just launch your pawn all the way up to H6, you can just bypass it, yeah? You gotta find something like, if the pawn is on G6, then it would be a hook, because it's not so easy for him to go G5, because you can take, of course. So usually a pawn has to have moved for it to be a hook. It can't really be on the starting square. All right, now everyone's starting to get it. William's got it. Ian's got it. Christos has got it. 8 seconds left. Who else is going to get it? Where's the hook? All right. Time up. Daniel just did it. Yeah, good stuff. So what we can see here is a typical situation where we have black who's in a strategically better situation, right? And if you're not quite sure how he's strategically better, what you can basically do is look at the plans of both sides. And if you notice your opponent has a much clearer plan, then usually it's considered that he is statically better, right? And if you know that they're then strategically better, you need to be looking for dynamics, right? Otherwise, your position will just, you can't fight them strategically, right? So if you just play something like E3, bishop E2, castles, white's not really making much progress, whereas black can target this guy. So you can go, Queen A4, Knight C6, Knight A5, Bishop A6. Eventually, he's going to win this pawn by force, and so he is much, much better, right? Also, his pawn structure is better than ours because we've got these, double pawns, which is not ideal. And Bishop on B2, yeah, William has mentioned, is also very bad. So therefore, that points towards we have to go for dynamic features. So we need to look for a way to open up the position. Because also we have the bishop pair advantage, right? 2 bishops against a bishop and a knight, which means that favors the bishops, of course, favor open positions. So G4 is the move we are looking for, just to try and get to this, latch onto this F5 pawn, and also have ideas maybe go bishop G2, and his rook on A8 could be a little bit trouble. So let's say black gets greedy and starts taking on G4. Again, we want to just open the position so we can go h3. Sorry, rook g1 first, sorry, and then h5, and now h3, latch onto that one. And this just ensures that black is no longer able to kind of castle on the king side because all of his pawns are starting moving down the board, right? And so it wouldn't be safe for him to go there. If he still gets too greedy and takes on h3, we can now enter with our rook on the 7th rank, very dangerous. And if they now go h2 trying to get a queen, well, it's not really such a good idea because queen g5. We only need one queen. Sarah's 4. Queen g5 and just checkmate on e7. So yeah, black's pretty much busted here. Christos, all right, going back to you.
Okay, sorry, I just need to unmute. Go on then, Christos.
How about knight c6 in this position for black?
Knight c6, okay.
Mate.
So he's defending the e7 square and he's trying to get a new queen. Very clever.
G2,
so
maybe?
let's go G2, yep. Combine ideas. I'm going to take that knight and I'm just going to checkmate you next.
Well, no, then you can. Oh yeah, if you played bishop b7, then try to oh no, you can't castle.
No.
Yep. So it's looking pretty bad. Yeah, I mean, maybe you could try to trick me and take here, thinking I might miss my queen is hanging. But hopefully not. I'll probably give a check. You go here. I'll then take. You take. I'll give a check, and then I will mate you on e7. So, yeah, black's position is pretty hopeless after queen g5. All right. So next one is kind of an example I actually had in a online game not so long ago. Playing white here is a guy called Ivan Sevic. For those of you who don't know him, he's a super grandmaster, 2600 Serbian grandmaster, very strong, 2600 rating. And here he played this move h5. And actually, this is a premature attack because I have not yet committed my king. So if my king was castled, then this h5 move would be completely valid because my king is already on that side of the board. But because he put his pawn on h5, he has technically played a bad move. And so that allowed me just to gobble that pawn and say, thank you very much, Mr. Ivan. He decided to take, sacrifice his rook. And I was like, well, you can't do that. Because after you take, queen takes, look at my king. My king's not over there. And so I just went knight d7. And after knight to f6, I went on to win fairly easily. So that's the problem, right? You can't also make premature attacks. You have to make sure that you first wait for opponent to commit their king, and then you can looking to do, especially if you're doing a flank attack, then you can commit to these sorts of things. All right. We also have some model games that I took as well, some of them from online. These are the two actually games I played over the board. This one, was online on Luchess. So here I'm playing, so for those you don't know, this is also my username, Baranadum. It's just my name in Arabic, basically. It's Brandon. I was trying to make something unique because I hate when you have to go like, you have some username and then you have to put 95 at the end of it or some annoying number. So I was just like, find something unique. And so anyway. So here I'm playing white, and my opponent's kind of been a bit silly, I guess. He's playing some sort of lion variation where they like to do this sort of h6, g5 stuff. Usually they put the bishop on e7 though, so the queen's a little bit misplaced and they want to bring the knight over to g6. But okay, clearly it's just a very bad version for him. And all my pieces are kind of ready for action, right? My king is safe, my rook is lined up, there's got extra attacks. That means there should be something. I should be ready to go for the dynamics, right? So white to play, what do you think I did in this position? So knight d5 is a decent suggestion, but not quite yet. We need to first do some we got to better prepare it. Christoph wants to go d5. Now, ask yourself this question. When we're head of development, do you want to open a position or close a position? Because d5 is looking to close a position, right? They can go c5 and just everything gets locked up. Ian's got it. Good stuff. Katie is sort of got it.
Sort of.
Actually, no, her move works.
I haven't got her move. Oh, he's sent it to me now. Does that work?
Yeah, it just transposes actually.
Yeah.
So that's fine. All right, so Katie's on the right track then. Ian's on the right track. Christos is sacrificing more pieces. Daniel looks like he's seen a ghost. All right, time's up. So, of course, we want to open the position. We've got a rook lined up on e-file, so we can open up that e-file. That would be perfect, right? So definitely we should be looking to exchange off some pawns to help open up the files. So I think d takes e5 is makes the most sense because it also is the most forcing, right? We have threats to both pieces. Knight e5 also technically works. So I guess you get credit for that. I guess it's just a little less forcing. But yeah, no matter, both of them are kind of the same. Because after d5, knight takes e5 is forced since this pawn is pinned. So knight takes e5, knight takes e5, and queen takes e5. Okay, so our knight is under attack. Next, very important moment in the game, how to continue here with white. We need to keep trying to open up the position. So white to play. Okay, yep, William's got it. Good stuff. So remember, guys, you've got the rook on e1, right? The queen and king are there for the taking. We need to get rid of this e-pawn. How can we get rid of the e-pawn? Christos again wants to sacrifice this poor bishop. My goodness. Be kind to your pieces, Christos. They will reward you for being kind to them.
Give them
you take on d6, I can just take you, yeah? And then you're already threatening some very nasty checks. All right, so most of you on the right track now. Florin's got it, Katie's got it, Daniel's got it. Fantastic. So knight d5 is the move we're now looking for. William, of course, got it earlier as well. And Ian just got it as well. So knight d5 is the move, right? We've got to keep that momentum going. We're ahead in development, so we need to look for attacking ideas in order to punish our opponent for not finishing development and also have not castling his king. So basically the knight is poisoned, right? If you take, I can just recapture, and all of a sudden the queen is in a lot of trouble. So my opponent decided to go king d8 because he's also got to try to defend this knight c7 threat. But now he walks basically into another X-ray attack, right? He's aligned up with the queen. So again, I'm looking for ways to open up the position. So just simple moves like knight takes f6, queen f6, and then e5, right? Remember that principle, put pressure on the pinned piece. So we've already got two attackers here, but we need to add some more pressure in order to win that guy. So e5 makes a lot of sense. Queen g6. And here we have kind of a conflicting principle, which is interesting because there's two things going on, right? You can take with the bishop, like we're about to win a pawn. And so you could say taking the bishop is the right move because after bishop takes, queen takes, and pawn takes. And basically the principle you're going for here is that when you're material up, you want to start to liquidate to make sure you don't allow any counter-attacking chances. So that seems fairly logical. And white would definitely be having an advantage here. But the conflicting principle is the one that says that when you are, the one that's attacking, you've got the more active pieces, the safer king, you should be keeping pieces on the board, especially the queens, right? And so therefore, this is where chess can get a little bit tricky because you've got two conflicting principles. You then have to be the one to decide which one is more relevant, right? Now, the one based on liquidation is because you're trying to avoid any counter-attacking chances. Well, if you see that black doesn't really have any counter-attack going on here, your king's perfectly safe, then you should maybe go for the one which tells you to keep pieces on the board since his king is so weak. So therefore, I decided to do that. He takes d6, bishop to d7. Okay, and now another very important moment is that double attack combinations are mostly based on double attacks, right?
And don't draw on the screen, please.
Ben's attacking. He's taking over the board.
Yeah, if you make it disable the annotations.
How to do that?
At the top, you just click on options.
Security. Right, we're into security. We're calling security in.
Police have come in.
Annotate on shared content. All right, untick that box. All right, but it's still there.
Oh, you have to delete it first. I mean,
how do I delete it?
I can't.
Oh, annotate.
Yeah, and then you delete annotation.
Clear all drawings. Haha, take that. I'm learning. All right.
Cool.
Picture's gone. Okay, so here we are, looking for a double attack, right? Because remember, if you just make some like a one move threat, it's quite easy for opponent to deal with. So if you can make a double attack where you attack two things at once, it's much harder for them to deal with both, right, at the same time. And remember, double attack doesn't have to just be where you attack two pieces. It can also be where you attack maybe one piece and in a very important square, okay? So look for the two kind of undefended, like an undefended square, undefended piece, see if you can combine those and work backwards to find the right move here for white. William has already got it. He's Speedy Gonzalez over there.
Christos wants to give away more pieces.
Poor Christos.
My old coach Glenn Fleer used to tell me to talk to my pieces, ask them what they think of that move, or when they're not developed in the game, ask them what they're thinking about.
Yeah, so do that, Christos. Ask your bishop if he wants to be sacrificed or not. See what he says. Hopefully he says no. Sacrifice someone else.
This time it's the rook he wants to sacrifice.
The rook? Blimey. Where's he going with the rook?
He wants to go to e8.
E8? What? I thought you were going to say at least E7, right? Where do we get like some dynamic potential? You get something for your rook. But the rook E8, that's just a freebie. I'll happily take that, no problem. Okay, so we've only got one answer to it so far. Everyone else must have fallen asleep.
Come on, it's attacking chess. It's more exciting.
Yeah. Where's the double attack? Right. Remember this saying, loose pieces drop off. So look for the ones that are undefended, and this is why working backwards can often be helpful. So this is undefended. It's also undefended.
The king's also very weak.
King's always a weak piece, yeah. Look for weak squares. That's a weak square.
Well done, Katie.
So if you can find ways to combine all those things, okay, well, of course you can't combine all of them, but look for the ones you can combine. So rook's kind of like pretty hidden in the corner there, so he's going to be pretty hard to attack, so let's get rid of him. King also can't be attacked just yet, so let's get rid of him out of the equation. And we're just left with b6 and h8.
Yeah, Daniel, I think you've got that right. You just got the coordinates slightly wrong.
Yeah, Daniel wants to sacrifice his queen on d5.
I don't think that's what he meant. Just correct that, please. I like Daniel's 4 knights, but I prefer my 4 queens.
Yeah. All right, so yeah, Christos, your bishop c5 is kind of a good suggestion. You want to go bishop b6, but remember it's like more of a one-move threat, right? So if you can refine your idea and make it a double attack like this, queen d4, then it's as far stronger because it means your opponent has 2 things to deal with. So this is what I did in the game. He went bishop to g7, but now the game's just over. Yeah, queen b6 check, king c8, and queen c7 checkmate. All right. So we won't be able to get through all of the material. We've got one more game we can have a look at. So which one should we do? Maybe this one's a bit too complicated. So we'll try the Malara game. Yeah, you can have a look at this one yourselves. So again, we're looking at the uncastled king. Here he's in the middle, and we're kind of ready for action. All our pieces are pretty well placed, and so we're looking for a way to open up positions. White to play. What should we do here?
Okay, so what's white going to play? Look at how weak black's king is, and we need to exploit that.
Yeah. Look for ways to open the position. So always you should be considering pawn breaks.
Mm-hmm. This used to be my favorite move. I used to play this a lot. Sometimes it was great, sometimes it didn't necessarily work, but it's a really nice move. Just let crystals back in.
Why did he leave?
It was Rook probably had a word with him.
Okay, so unfortunately we have much time. This is kind of a tricky question, so I would have liked.
Daniel got it right. Well done, Daniel.
Yeah, but Daniel and Katie have both got it right, so that's good.
Excellent. Well done.
William's kind of got the right idea, but maybe just the wrong move order. And so yeah, here I wanted to play the move F5. My opponent just played G6, which makes it look like he stopped my pawn going to F5 indefinitely. But I made sure I looked at one move further and decided actually F5 is still very much possible. I want to open up the position. And so this brings some crazy variations. Like the first thing is queen can't take on E5 because bishop F4 is a skewer on the rook, so you can't do that. If he takes on with the E pawn, this is pretty bad because it means now knight E6 is even stronger. Let's say bishop takes, pawn takes, queen to D8, queen to check. Right, so you see I've opened up everything on the E file, making sure that king is very weak. Bishop A6 check, king G8, queen E5, threatening the mate on G7. Now to F6, what I've calculated is that technically I can go bishop D5 here, but I thought queen D5 was
showing off, aren't you?
A bit nicer, just a bit nicer. Have a nice little scissor-looking checkmate. So I couldn't resist.
You show off. Oh, that's
sacrifice the queen. Okay, so he can't do that basically. Now, if he takes with the G pawn, well, actually, there's one variation here. If he does this one, it goes king F8. I can give a check, king G8. And what's interesting here is also to look at move orders. Very, very important when you're doing calculation. The most natural move, I guess, is to go knight takes F5. But after pawn F5, rook F5, threatening his queen G4, maybe black can go rook B6 and swing a rook over to defend. So it turns out this rook on F5 is maybe not so useful. So actually what you should do is go rook takes F5 instead. And if now pawn takes F5, you have two good choices, either queen H5, threatening a very dangerous checkmate, or just knight takes. And the difference here is you're threatening also knight E7 mates and allowing time to bring the rook across. So this is pretty devastating as well.
Yeah, move order is really important. So don't just rush, just check there's no defenses because rook B6 would be annoying in that other line.
Yeah, always look to check switch your move orders around. So G takes F5 is the only real variation left. And okay, we still go for this check idea. He has to take, we take, queen D8. We basically arrive at the same variation, right? It's just a little bit harder because I need to open up this E file. So I need to do that myself. Rook takes F5, pretty nice, nice idea. Pawn takes, queen E2 check. Notice how I get all my pieces into the game. Bishop A6 check, king G8, queen E5, and now we have the same variation as before of the bishop D5 mate. So you can see how if you have this kind of good attacking instincts, you know exactly what you should be doing in any given situation. If you had a lead in development, your opponent's king is stuck in the middle of the board, you should be looking for ways to open up the position, even if that means sacrificing something, right? Because king safety is a very important element of the evaluation. So you can sometimes afford to sacrifice material if their king is very weak, right? Okay, so again, all this stuff will be sent to you guys, so you can go through and practice it again. It's all in interactive form, so